Maybe.
Technology, is it a distraction or a tool? So already today, everyone uses their phones when they do work. But I want to ask you, do you turn your cell phone off when you start working? Or do you constantly flip it over or hear it vibrate and check for a text message and respond? I'm probably going to talk to 3 different people. So then blah, 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 they answer. Did you know that there are more active cell phone users in the United States than people? And that 99.5% of college students have cell phones. College students, especially in the 18 to 24-year-old range, text 1,600 times per month. Translates to about an hour and a half of typing text messages each month. When students are working, do they set their phones aside? It's a big question. Many say they might, but most do not. Here's the video.
Did you know the average person spends 4 years of his life looking down at his cell phone? Kind of ironic, ain't it? How these touch screens can make us lose touch. But it's no wonder in a world filled with iMacs, iPads, and iPhones, so many.
A lot of people say that cell phones are helpful. That's true, they are. They can be a great organizational tool, a great communication tool. They can have a periodic table, a ruler, a calculator, you name it. Cell phones can do almost anything. However, for them to be considered helpful, the benefits have to outweigh the negatives. They have to be more helpful than they are distracting. And in order to do that, most people would turn off their phone, but obviously that doesn't happen. Numerous studies have shown that a short break can help improve concentration, but only after 30 to 45 minutes of dedicated study.
So a lot of us here have to do group work, and cell phones can really get in the way.
11 o'clock, you have to be out.
Okay.
I'm sorry, 3 o'clock.
Okay.
Continue.
And for a lot of group work, cell phones can either help us with more research and more tools to get the group work done faster, or it can really distract people. Because in order to do group work, it's to be talking, working together, and if you're always checking your cell phone, then you're going to lose focus on what you're supposed to be doing, and it can end up taking a lot longer than it should. And once one person starts to check their phone, then everyone has to check their phone, and then you're not getting any work done, so it can often be really counterproductive. And a lot of times what happens, and it happened pretty recently with me, is when somebody brings something up really small, like, I don't know, like yesterday there was we were trying to work on this project, and somebody brought up something about basketball, and then we started talking about who is a better basketball player between LeBron James, Kevin Durant. And then we had to go look up stuff on our phone, and we ended up taking a lot longer on this project than we needed to because we had to look stuff up. And that wouldn't have happened if we didn't have our phones to do that. So in the end, cell phones really, even though, it helps us look stuff up, it can also distract us from what we're supposed to be doing.
So one of the main reasons that cell phones create kind of this really big distraction for our generation is kind of our infatuation with them. There's been a really big difference between our parents, us, and then people who are younger in our generation, like younger teens, like 12 and 13-year-olds, when it comes to cell phones. Our parents they've seen cell phones as a very new and revolutionary technology. When they were growing up, they didn't have these mobile phones. They had phones that were on cords, and you could just take them around with you wherever. But we've grown up to see the cell phone progress from old flip phones to new smartphones that we have today. And then our younger generation has only seen these smartphones. So we've seen the progression of cell phones, and that kind of infatuates us and makes us want to use them as much as we can because of this development in technology. And this difference really changes how each generation views cell phones. I know with my parents, my dad still has an old flip phone, just because he says it does what I need it to do. It makes phone calls, and I need that for work. And that's the only reason that he needs his phone. And he's perfectly fine with that. And that's the way it is with some of the older generation. They want to push the new technology aside and say, I just need it to make phone calls and things like that. But our generation, we're like, I want to see whatever this thing can do. And it kind of gets them distracted from actually doing what they need to do.
So in the past, when we were kids, smartphones weren't that common. Even like old flip phones, I didn't even have mine until I was late in middle school. And so what we used to do when we had those phones, where we would spend more time talking to each other instead of texting. And when we're with a group, or when I was sitting on the bus and there was a small silence, we wouldn't like check our phones because, well, we didn't have anything to check. It was only used for calling mainly. So we'd start talking about stuff, and that's how we made friends, because we didn't have our phones to talk to. We had to talk to other people. And when we wanted to hang out with other people, then we'd actually have to call them up and see what they're up to. Now it's like you can just text them and not get a response for however long, and once you get a response, then you go from there. But now, also what also happens is we don't ask people what they've been up to now, because cell phones have the ability to open up social media sites like Facebook and Twitter, and we can just see what they've been doing from their pictures and their status updates. And it really takes away what used to happen, is actually calling up old friends and seeing how they're doing and what they've been up to. It's unnecessary now, really.
On that note, texting really blocks the conveying of tone and body language, and because of this, sometimes texting feels very robotic. It feels very cold. It's very factual. It's difficult to convey that you're joking, or that you're really angry, or that you're disappointed, or that maybe you're a little upset. Part of this is because it's obviously text only, but also because you're lacking the expression of tone that you would get through a phone call. This video, while comical, illustrates this point very well.
Trying to reach out to you all day. Are we on for tonight?
In the future, what this will mean is that generations will be even further disconnected from personal interaction. The expression and body language that we have today might change. It might become more associated with a telepathy device. I'm not going to actually say that. I'm going to change it. But a phone call, even... This way? Oh, okay. But a phone call, even just a phone call, conveys tone, it conveys expression, and in the future, people are going to have to make a very conscious effort to make sure that they express how they feel, not through a text message, but through face-to-face meetings, through phone calls. Even Skype is better. Skype conveys facial expression, body language, tone, all of that. It still involves technology, but it's a lot better than just words. Already, the difference in our lifetime is staggering. When I was a kid, I had to call my friends. I would ask them what's up. I would ask them if they were home, if I could come over. I would talk to them, their parents, and then their parents would talk to my parents, and that all take place on the phone. It'd be more personal than a text message, and it really led me to know both my friends and my parents' friends, and it led to a more closer feeling of community, especially because I'd be walking to my friend's house. So both my parents and their parents would know when I left my house and when I should get there, how long I'd be staying, possibly what we'd be doing, but it didn't really matter because we conveyed that all at once. Everyone knew, everyone was up to date.
Now the real question is, what is this whole new technology, where is this all going, and what can you do about how you can handle it? And communication is obviously very important, especially when working in groups, which you often have to do here at Tech. And when you communicate, give someone a phone call. Don't just text them. It's a lot less personal, and this way you know what they're up to. And you can't forget about a phone call the same way you can forget about a text. You can't be on the phone and say, oh yeah, I forgot it was on the phone.
Also, a lot of people say that they don't make great friends with the people they work with. It's just a class. You're just working with them. After the class, you talk to them again. Maybe if you see them, you might say, hi, what's up? Maybe you pass by them. But that's random. It's rare. You don't make lasting friends. If you called someone every time you wanted to meet, you might end up actually talking to them about something not related to school. And that leads to true lasting friendships.
So, back to what I was saying about group work. You really don't need a cell phone when you're studying because it just gets in the way of things. You really need to focus on doing your work, not checking your phone every 3 seconds. You'll have all that time saved up when you're done with it. And another time to stop using your phone is when you're having a meal, because when you're eating with other people, it's a good time to start seeing what they've been up to, how their day was, not checking your phone because you're already with people. You don't need to be talking to other people through a phone. It just doesn't make sense.